I work as a security/nighttime attendant at an apartment building. It's 24 stories and one of the oldest buildings in the city. One night I'm sitting here when the phone rings at about 3 a.m., and I answer, "Hello, this is Draven at the front desk, how can I help you?" The voice on the other end sounded female, but was totally garbled, and the only bit I could make out was 23rd floor. I tried to tell the person I couldn't understand them, and asked what apartment they were in, but again garbled response and 23rd floor. After the third time of trying to understand them and the same response, I said that I would come up and meet me in the hallway. So I go to the main elevators, and both are, to my surprise, on the 23rd floor. Luckily, we have an older service elevator, and it's only on the 7th floor, so I call it down. I get in and hit the button for the 23rd floor, but it won't move and the inner door won't close, so I go to unlock the reset panel and boom, we start going up, door still open. I'm freaking out, and the old elevator is shaking, because it goes pretty fast. As I'm going up, I just stay towards the back and finally I reach floor 23. I step out, door closes just fine, and I look around the hallway. There's nobody around. I walk along slowly trying to listen for anyone awake who might have called, but there's nothing. So now I head to the opposite direction, and go towards where the regular elevators are. When I get to them, they are just sitting there with their doors open. I was pretty freaked out, but I knew it could just be the elevators on the fritz, so I get in and figure I'll just reset them when I get to floor 1. When suddenly, I hear the sound of the back stairwell closing. So I quickly get out and go to the stairwell, and lo and behold, no one's there, but the maintenance door to the machine room is wide open, and at that time I'm the only one in the building with a key. At the top of the building is a large machine room, housing all the really loud machinery that does stuff in the building, and allows access to the roof. I don't like going into it because it's creepy, and no one ever goes there, so at this point I'm seriously freaked out, but I muster up and head in. I shout hello, and there's no response. The lights in this room flicker, because they're old fluorescent. So I can't see well either, but at the end of the room, I can make out the roof access door, it's slightly open. So I slowly continue forward, checking the space in between each machine as I walk by, and there's no one there. So I open the roof access door. I can't see anyone ahead of me on the roof, but there is a slight wraparound. If there was a jumper or something, I needed to be sure, so I step out and leave the door ajar like it was. Almost immediately, the door is pulled shut. Now I might have written it off as wind or something, but this door is hard to shut and hard to open. Really hard. I immediately grab the handle and hank it open, slam it behind me and run straight for the maintenance door. It automatically locks when it's closed, so I slam it shut, and go back to the 23rd floor hallway, get into an elevator and go all the way down to the 1st floor. I go back to the main lobby, and as soon as I sit down, the phone rings. I pick it up, don't say a word, and sure as hell garbled voice again, only audibly saying 23rd floor. I hung up the phone, turned the ringer off and spent the rest of the evening just staring at the parking garage security monitor. There's been a bunch of creepy things happen at this building. It's basically like the Overlook Hotel at night. I walked past a dark room here on the 1st floor once and swore I saw myself standing inside it. The next night as I'm inside said room, cleaning, the lights flip off and I turn around to see a quick flash of myself walking past. I had just turned 22 and my parents had sold their house and purchased a place out in the country. On the property there was a big shed, not far from the house that I decided to turn into my place. Now I felt kind of uncomfortable in the shed sometimes, but my dog kept me company, so it wasn't so bad. Anyway, I had been in there maybe 2 weeks and one night I'm on the computer, my dog asleep at my feet and I need to pee, so I get up and go outside to take a leak. It's a beautiful clear night and the stars were incredible. Suddenly I hear the shed door slam behind me. I turn immediately and try to open it, but it won't budge. Now from inside the shed I can hear my dog start to growl, quietly at first, then louder. Now he's barking and I'm panicking, trying to get the door open. I must mention that I'm 6'5" and well built and play sports, but even ramming my full weight into the door won't open it. So I start panicking as my dog's barks turned into whines, then whimpering, then silence, and with all my might I slam into the door and it flies open. The light is off inside and it's pitch black, it won't turn back on and I'm in complete darkness. Can't see my dog anywhere, as I stumble around trying to find a torch. Finally, I find it and pick it up to turn it on. I wasn't prepared for what I'd see next. My dog had literally squashed itself into the furthest, darkest corner of the room, eyes closed and shaking violently. I immediately moved towards him. As soon as I got within reach of him, he jumped into my arms and wouldn't move a muscle. I picked him up and I swear I've never ran so fast in my life. I never stepped foot in that shed ever again, and my dog wouldn't even go near that part of the property. I don't know what happened in that shed that night, but I'll never forget it. When I was around 9 or 10, I lived in a small German town near the Black Forest inside of a valley. My friends and I always had to walk up the road through a forest to get to the next village that was a little bit bigger than where we lived. We always went there to play soccer, but that's really besides the point. Crossing through the forest, we always had to go through these ruins of a former castle, or lookout point dating back from the mid-ages. I was also told that it was used as a trench during World War II. One day we decided to go in a little bit deeper and found a cave-like structure. We went inside and had a look around, so one of my friends had a rather not-so-brilliant idea. He said we should meet at 2 a.m. and make a challenge of who was least afraid to go inside the furthest. It was dangerous and creepy enough during the day, but it seemed like a fun idea while we were kids. So that night I stayed up until 2 a.m., climbed out of my window and met my friends. Everyone but one came. It was super creepy. There were no lights and it was pitch dark in the forest. Of course we brought our flashlights but had to make sure nobody saw us. As we got to the entrance of the cave, we played a game for who had to go in first. I was last. My first, second and third friend went in. They didn't go far, each staying between 5 to 10 minutes before they freaked out and headed back. I was determined to stay longer, even for just a few minutes. I went inside and turned my flashlight on. It was so creepy. Spider webs everywhere and water dripping down the massive stone walls. Part of the tunnel had already collapsed and it was only possible to go through because I was a kid. I walked and crawled in further and further and it seemed some people had already been here as there was trash on the floor. After around 15 minutes I decided it was time to head back. I turned around, but then suddenly I heard something walking behind me. It didn't even sound like regular walking, more like whatever it was dragged something heavy behind it. I got so scared that I turned off my light and just stood still for a moment, and yes, I didn't imagine it. Something came closer and closer as I just stood there, paralyzed. The air turned cold and I could hear something breathing behind me. Whatever it was, it seemed much taller. I was too afraid to turn around, nor to turn my light on. More and more time passed and that thing was still very close to where I was. I wasn't sure if it could see me, but I felt like it did. My friends outside started to get worried, turned their flashlights on to shine inside and call for my name. It was then that this thing, whatever it was, took off. It ran fast and heavy and disappeared in an instant, so fast that it was weird. When I felt that it was gone, I crawled back outside. I was truly shaken up and told my friends about it. They thought I was making it up, though I knew it was true, and whatever that thing was, it must have come deep from inside the cave. There was no way it could have fitted through the small space towards the entry. In my childhood home I would often hear typing coming from the computer downstairs, early in the mornings. I didn't think much of it at first. My parents worked from home and it wouldn't be uncommon to wake up in the morning to hear Mom typing away at the computer. One day I got up and called out to Mom assuming she was down there working as I could hear typing. No answer. No one was down there at all. I was sure I heard typing. This began happening regularly. I figured, I was so used to hearing typing from downstairs that I was hearing things that weren't there, so I didn't mention anything to anyone. This happened on and off over a period of 6 months. The sound of fast typing, furious clicking of a mouse, as if someone was frustrated. One morning I was eating my breakfast when I heard Mom at the top of the stairs call out to me, "You're not down there on that computer already?" I froze and ran out to her. I was amazed she had heard it too. She was convinced she could hear typing, yet no one was down there. I told her about all the times I'd been hearing it, and then my sister opened up about hearing it regularly too, when no one was down there. I wasn't crazy after all. I set out to try catch whatever was causing it and to try discover a rational explanation for it. I'd sprint out of my bedroom, to the top of the stairs where I was able to look down into the room to see if anyone was at the computer. No such luck. Every time I got there it stopped. I think it went on for a couple of years, and we learned just to kind of live with it as it wasn't every day. I was down there once when the ceiling light globe in the center of the room began flashing very fast, strobe-like. It then exploded and glass went shattering all across the room. I was lucky I ran out of the room when it started happening, because I was scared. If I hadn't ran I would have been hit with the glass of the light bulb. Around the same time, one day I was playing on the computer at home by myself, when something happened that resulted in me never being alone in that room again. I felt and heard this really sharp intake of breath, directly behind my right shoulder near my ear. I've never ran so fast in my life, and was hesitant going in that room ever again. Prior to that, the whole typing thing had just been something weird and a bit spooky, not scary. Still makes my heart race when I think about it today. Have never really encountered anything like this before since all those events. I don't particularly believe ghosts either, but I'm open to the possibilities of something in which scientists don't have a proper explanation for yet.
Wasn't that fun? Leave a comment with your own story, so it can be featured in upcoming videos. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more quantum tapes.